Shwetambari Shetty, one of the strongest women I know. You did your first Hyrox very recently and you did a podium finish. So let's talk about Hyrox today. What is Hyrox?
It's a global fitness race, cardiovascular endurance, muscular endurance, and strength. All of this is going to be put to test. You run 1 kilometer, then you ski 1 kilometer, then you run again 1 kilometer, then you'll sled push, then you'll run 1 kilometer again, then you'll sled pull, then you'll run 1 kilometer, and then you do broad jump burpees. Then you run 1 kilometer again, and then you'll do rowing. Then you'll run 1 kilometer, and then you'll do farmer carry. Then you'll run 1 kilometer, and you'll do sandbag walking lunges. Then you'll run 1 kilometer, and you'll do wall ball shot.
Who can do Hyrox? What should my training plan? How much time do I need? And what do I need to do week over week?
One advice I'd like to give everyone, which I noticed like a lot of us also made those mistakes.
Shwetambari Shetty, one of the strongest women I know, and I've had the privilege to train with in the past. Maybe we'll get to train again together sometime in the future. You did your first Hyrox very recently, and you did a podium finish. Were you expecting that? Did you go with that podium in your eyesight, or?
Not really, because it was my first. I only went with the vision of doing my best, but not knowing what you're doing or getting into. Like, it's an endurance sport, but you're not fully sure what to expect. So, and in my age category, we were doing pro, so we had only Firangs. So it was even more scarier. So no, I went with zero expectations, went with the performance goal of, I want to finish this under 1 hour, 30 minutes.
1 hour, 30 minutes. Awesome. So let's talk about Hyrox today.
Yeah.
And we are not necessarily talking about your training. We know you train super hard. But we are going to be talking about if someone has to prep for their first Hyrox, and we know that there's a Hyrox that's planned in April in Bangalore. I'm pretty sure people are very excited about it. So in this episode, let's talk about if someone has to do their first Hyrox, how can they train? But before we get to that, can we I know Hyrox is very popular and everything, but just for the benefit of everyone who's viewing this episode, if you can very sharply tell us, what is Hyrox?
Yeah. So the full form of Hyrox, which most people don't know, is Hybrid Rockstar.
Hybrid Rockstar.
Okay. Yeah, it's cute. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, and now I'll tell you why it's hybrid, right? So it's a global fitness race which combines running and some amount of functional exercises.
Yes.
Simple. You need to basically have cardiovascular endurance, muscular endurance, and strength. All of this is going to be put to test. So typically what will happen is you run 1 kilometer and then you'll go into skiing. Okay, then you ski 1 kilometer. Then you run again 1 kilometer. Then you'll sled push, so strength, right? Then you'll run 1 kilometer again. Then you'll sled pull, so again, strength, endurance and strength. Then you'll run 1 kilometer and then you do broad jump burpees, endurance, right? Power.
Yeah.
Then you run 1 kilometer again and then you'll do rowing. Then you'll run 1 kilometer and then you'll do farmer carry. Then you'll run 1 kilometer and you'll do sandbag walking lunges. Then you'll run 1 kilometer and you'll do wall ball shots, right? And then you run to your finish line. I think I covered 8 runs and 8 exercises.
So you've got to run 8 kilometers.
Yeah. So you run 8 kilometers and in between every kilometer, you will do one functional exercise and the distance and weight and everything is categorized, right? So it's not about just raw speed. Hyrox is about just keeping at it, some physical strength and endurance, a lot of mental grit, determination, and just a willingness to say, no matter how much time, I will finish it. Right? And that's the beauty, because they don't say like, oh my God, you have a hard stop. The beauty is you are allowed to finish, and then you just want to keep getting better and better and better.
Awesome. So it's like 1 hour, 30 minutes or maybe 2 hours of continuous work.
Correct.
So of course, there has to be a good training periodization for someone leading up to the event.
Yeah.
I'm sure you wouldn't recommend someone who's maybe fit, hits the gym a few days a week, doing it regularly. But if someone hasn't trained for Hyrox specifically, I'm sure you wouldn't recommend that they, directly go to the event?
No, definitely not. So it's not like you just wake up one day and say, hey, okay, next week is Hyrox and let me participate, right?
Yeah.
With a little bit of training, like a beginner, okay, can also participate in Hyrox. But that beginner is someone who has some amount of base training.
Awesome. So some amount of base training. So let's, I think, get to that.
Yeah.
Who can do Hyrox? Is there like prerequisite or a criteria that you would put? For example, if someone asks me who can do a muscle up, I would say if you're somebody who can, let's say, do 15 unbroken pull-ups, 15 unbroken dips, and if you're good at a hollow hold and a Superman, then you are ready to attempt or at least start training for your first muscle up. Is there something like that when it comes to Hyrox?
So I would like to, put like a base criteria for this, right? If you can do, let's say, about 4-5 kilometers at a very steady pace, like let's say 7 minutes per kilometer or 7.5 minutes per kilometer, but you, without breaking it, complete that 4 to 5 kilometers, right? You still have like a decent amount of endurance and run training to actually consider participating in Hyrox. Because after that, it's about training to do a good 8 kilometers, like at a good pace, right? That's from a running standpoint, right? Then you just keep getting better. From strength, you definitely need to know your basics, right? Like you should be doing some squatting, some hinging, some push, some pull. And this could be if you've done just with dumbbells or barbells or kettlebells or even machines at the gym, it's okay. At least you have some amount of training and knowledge of how to do these movements, right? You can't just go straight up and say, oh, let me just train for wall ball shots. Or, that wouldn't be the best idea, right? So a little bit of running and a little bit of strength can help you prep for Hyrox.
So one should be able to do like a 5 kilometer in about 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, and even if they take a little longer, it's still okay. It's about trying to do that 5 kilometers at a nice steady pace without stopping. Yeah, and then when you start training and progressing, you can say, okay, I'll jog, walk, and try to finish 8 kilometers. Then you'll just train and get better. But if you have that foundation of 4 to 5 kilometers, fantastic.
Awesome. So that's the base. And I mean, of course, Hyrox is not putting any time limit. You can take your time and finish in how much ever time you want. So you can go really slow. But the reason we are talking about this is also because we want people. I know a lot of people will be going for Hyrox. And, when you're in a competitive setup, it's very easy to get injured. Tendon injuries and, muscular strain and things like that are very common.
Yes.
So we want people to be safe when they go and participate in these events. And the criteria that you just mentioned, I think that will be very helpful. So let's say I have that base criteria in place. I can run the 5K. I have some amount of training age when it comes to lifting moderate to heavy weights. Of course, I'm going to have to start training specifically for Hyrox because most people don't get to do sled push and sled pulls at the gyms.
Me too.
Even me, I mean, I don't get an opportunity to do that very often. So if I have to go for Hyrox, that's that specificity I will need in my training.
Yes.
That said, if there is some amount of strength training background, good to go. So let's say this base is in place. I meet the criteria. What should my training plan look like leading up to the event? How much time do I need? And what do I need to do week over week?
Sure. Okay, let's quickly go over it, right? Yeah. We will take a 2-month period. Okay?
Okay.
Now that you mentioned that, okay, April we'll probably have a Hyrox in Bangalore. People have more time to train. But let's give people a 2-month or rather 8 weeks training plan, keeping the base criteria in mind, right? So we're going to break this training into 3 parts, okay? Your base training, your performance training, and your taper training. That is like the final. Now, in your base training, we're saying dedicate 2 weeks to kind of get that foundation in. So do about 2 runs a week. Okay, you can do 1 steady run, like 5 kilometers, slow at your own pace, maybe even 6 if you can. Could be 4 also. And 1 run of intervals. So intervals would be like, okay, let's go at a slightly faster pace for 100 meters. then slow down or jog or walk for the next 100 meters, right?
Will that be like your race pace during the first 2 weeks?
No.
Okay.
At a pace that you can do, basically.
Okay.
You have to identify what that pace is for you, right? I mean, or a coach can help you, but do not go hard in that first 2 of base training, because we are trying to build a foundation.
Yeah.
And then maybe about 2 or max 3 days of strength training will be great, right? And you can do your regular strength training, focus on, a lot of lower body work, a lot of push and pull work. So we're talking about incorporate the squats, the deadlifts, work on your calf, work on your hamstring, work on your glutes, because a lot of power also is required in burpees and stuff. Work on your push strength, pull strength, right? So 2 to 3 days of simple strength training, and try to build in like some amount of recovery. Right? You can do some mobility work. If you're doing yoga, fantastic. That's more than enough. And 2 weeks, just work on building that foundation, right?
Got it.
Now, after that, the next 5 weeks, let's push, right? Let's take it up a notch.
Okay.
Now we're talking about every week, you'll still do 1 interval run. You will still do 1 steady pace run. Okay, like a slightly longish run. Again, you can still be doing 6 kilometers steady pace. You can increase it slowly to 7 kilometers, and your intervals also can improve. Instead of doing 100-meter intervals, you can now maybe push to 200, 300, week on week, 400-meter intervals, right? The strength training can also be 2 to 3 times. I would say 3, and I had done like thrice a week of strength training, and 2 times of interval and steady. And 1 day a week, which is typically your weekend, like on a Saturday, you do a simulation of Hyrox, right? But in small bursts. Okay. Like let's say the first Saturday, you can do a simulation where you're running 300 meters, doing 1 functional exercise, running 300 meters, doing a week. And the second weekend, your simulation can up a little bit. You can do 400 meters, 1 functional exercise, 400 meters, 1. So, and you don't have to do all 8. You can just do 4 circuits, right? Or 400, 400, 400. So we will steadily increase it week on week, but you have to start building in the simulation so that your mind and body understands that this is the pattern I'm going to be using on my race day, right? So those 5 weeks is going to be hard because you're doing 2 days of running, 2 to 3 days of strength training, and 1 day, which is preferably the Saturday, for simulation. And then you can recover on Sunday. And that recover can be mobility, go for a swim, things like that. This will continue for 5 weeks.
Okay.
And week on week, you will have to progress. Now, I want to quickly also mention that in the strength segment, right? Also, like you may not be able to get push and pull immediately, because the sled push and pull normally all gyms don't have. But work for being able to do those movements. Like you may only get like 1 or 2 weekends where you go to a certain place which had sled push and pull. So I would say, like in your sled push, you will need a lot of calf strength. You will need quad and hamstring and glute strength. So do a lot of accessory work that focuses on strengthening these areas, right? So that when you actually get to do a sled push and pull, you'll be able to, you won't hurt yourself like you were saying. You won't get like a calf tear or an ankle injury and stuff. And also when you're doing your sled push and pull for the first time, because it's new for everyone, start with lightweight, focus on form and technique.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's 5 weeks, right? Now you come to taper week, which you can use like 1 week or maybe...
If you could just explain, what does taper week mean?
Yeah. So your last week before race day, you kind of keep moving, but you slow down, right? Slow down in the sense you'll do 2 runs. You don't have to do intervals. 2 easy runs that week, 2 lightweight, moderate weight strength training, and focus on maybe 1 or 2 days of proper recovery. If you want to go for a myofascial release, if you want to do mobility, all of that. Just move, but move light, because body has to keep moving.
So you're still doing similar movements?
You don't even have to do similar movements. It could be just regular strength, just a little bit of running. Like the last week, what I did was I was also out of the city. I just did very little strength. some amount of squatting and, same, the deadlifting and all of that. And I did easy 5K runs twice that week and did a lot of foam rolling. And I did one myofascial release like 5 days prior to the race. I moved every day, or I even did long walks, but I did not do anything intense. That is your taper week, where you allow the body some rest, but you don't go zero. You don't be like just sitting on the couch and shocking the body later.
Right.
But because the previous 5 weeks have been hard, you give that 1 week to just, allow the body to breathe a little bit. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's simple. So you have base training 2 weeks, 5 weeks of performance training, 1 week of tapering.
And this tapering continues until the last day.
That's correct.
Like, would you suggest complete rest days before the event? Or...
Yeah, like I'll tell you what I did. Sunday was our race. Saturday, I did nothing except foam rolling. But if I had access, because I didn't have access and I was traveling, I would do like just 2 kilometers on the treadmill. Easy. Like just a jog or something. And then followed with mobility, or mobility followed with a 2 kilometer on the treadmill. You can absolutely do.
So you would recommend some movement?
Yeah, some movement.
At least.
Yes, absolutely.
Understood.
Yeah.
And this was training. Could you also touch upon nutrition protocol leading up to the Hyrox event?
So I think what we can do is also break the nutrition accordingly.
Yes.
Like how we did base, performance and taper, right? In your base training, which is the first 2 weeks, don't make too many changes to what you do. Ensure every meal is balanced in the sense you have your protein, which is about 1.5 grams per kg of body weight. Okay. It also depends on how much protein you're already eating. Like we can give these guidelines, but you can't suddenly up the protein intake also. Right. So which is why I'm saying 1 gram, 1.5 gram per kg of body weight. Then you have your carbs. Eat the same. Don't like change much with your carbohydrates. Keep it simple. Your rice, your breads, your oats and all of those things. And your healthy fats. Keep that going. Continue hydrating. So in your base, you don't have to make major changes. Just start getting your body used to a good balanced meal. Performance phase is where you really have to focus on all 3 aspects. In the sense, your protein has to increase. I would say take it up to like 1.5 to 1.8 or even 2 grams per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
Right?
So if it's a 50 kg individual.
Yeah, I'm 50.
It'll be about 100 grams.
Yeah. And I did
protein.
100 every day. Then your carbs, right? Here is where your carbohydrates has to increase.
Yeah.
Right? I did about 200 to 300 grams per day.
Okay.
So that's about 3 to 5 grams.
3 to 5 grams.
Yeah. Per kg of body weight. Right? That's because when you're doing a lot of interval running, when you're doing, heavier weights and you're training every single day with high intensity, you just need more carbs. And endurance training also demands more carbs, right?
Yeah.
Why are you smiling?
I'd love that kind of training.
Yeah, exactly.
If I just get to eat more food.
Eat more food, yeah. So you will increase your carbohydrates in this space. Your fats can also be a lot of fiber and good fat, healthy fat as well, because you want to focus on gut too. And protein can be about 1.5, 1.8 to 2. But eating good dense meals and nutrition dense meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner becomes super important to fuel your performance training for 5 weeks. Most importantly, hydration. 3.5 to even up to 4 liters based on your height, weight and your training conditions is required, because your body needs that much hydration, because you're sweating a lot in a endurance training session, right? Replenish. I would say add electrolytes already, right? Because you will need maybe post-training a sachet into your water every day, right? Add electrolytes. And this is the phase you also start taking your gels. Okay. You train your body. So what are gels? Gels are basically, you get only carb gels, you get carb plus caffeine gels. This gives you a sudden boost of energy during the race. Okay. But before you take these gels, they're performance gels, right? Endurance athletes always take performance gels, whether you're a runner or a triathlete. Before you take it on race day, you need to practice with it, because your gut can react to a gel if you're not used to it. So you need at least 3 weeks of learning to getting the body used to gels, right? So identify what gel you want, caffeine, no caffeine, pure carb, talk to people, talk to coaches, talk to people who've done it before, practice with those gels, learn to sip water between your simulations so you know what it's like,
Yeah.
And it's good. That's about it. Focus on hydration, balanced meals, try to reduce your caffeine, try to reduce your alcohol intake during this phase because your body is already going to be tired and dehydrated. Then in your taper week, you don't change your protein as much. You can stick to the same amount of protein, right? But your carbs need to increase a little bit more because this is your last week of training before your race. So now your carbs can even go to like 5 to even 7 grams.
Got it.
Right? Again, depends on where you are, your body weight, how much training you've been doing. It can differ from a beginner to intermediate to advanced. Like I really overdid the carbs and I happened to be in Kerala. It was Onam. So I ate my heart out, right? And I think that really helped me. But now you up your carbs. You can keep your fiber basic. Don't overdo the fiber now. And hydration can double. Right?
Hydration can double.
Like you can drink more water and drink more electrolytes if you want. I did that. And then the most important is your 2 to 3 days prior to race, right? That high carb loading phase. You don't even have to carb load a week. I did it. It's different.
And carb load means?
Carb load means overdo your carbs. Okay. So when I say carb load, I'm talking about eat more oats, eat more potatoes, eat more rice. Actually, rice and potatoes does the job. Sweet potatoes, best. But I also see a lot of people eat just potato as well, like boiled potatoes, which works fantastic. White rice does wonders. Pasta does wonders. So eat this as much as you feel like. Just have a field trip with carbs, right? And that is 3 days leading up to the race specifically.
Yes.
More carb, more fluids. More carb, more fluids.
Got it.
Most important, right? And what else? Try to focus on your sleep. Do some amount of mobility. Then it's last but not least is a race day prep.
Exactly.
Right now, with Hyrox, you need to keep in mind you have 3 segments. You can either get a morning slot, you can get an afternoon slot, or you can get an evening slot. Now, based on which slot you have, and you know this way in advance, so you can plan your race day nutrition well in advance. Whether it's a morning, noon, or evening, ensure that the previous night you have had 500 ml water with a full sachet of electrolyte before you go to bed, because that will really fuel you the next day, right? Then, if you have a morning race, do your usual thing, wake up, get a good carby breakfast, which could be, again, oats and bread. I did the same thing. I actually did oats and I did some bread and I did a banana. And 30 to 45 minutes before the race, you can choose a date or again a banana.
Something fast.
Yeah, something fast. Exactly. And a gel if you are used to gel. But if you can't take a gel, it's okay. Don't take a gel. Now, if you have like an afternoon session, then have a slightly bigger breakfast, which is also carb dense again. Like I said, bread. You can have some eggs also because that protein will also help you. Don't do high fiber on race day.
And what about, would you say avoid fat?
I would not say avoid. I'll say do your nuts and seeds and everything. But I would say don't do high fiber.
Yeah.
Like maybe avoid the avocados.
And that is because?
That is because you don't want your gut to mess up at that point, right? You don't want to be running to the loo.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to slow your digestion down as well.
Yeah. We've seen people, it happens to people, right? When they, you don't want to slow your digestion as well. So you have an afternoon race, you do your breakfast, but also do a snack. So let's say your race is at like 2 p.m. or something, which was mine. So I also did like a mid-morning snack, like I had an apple and stuff like that. Then again, just 45 minutes before the race, a date and stuff like that. A gel, because I'm used to gel, so I did a gel before that.
Yeah.
And keep sipping on water and electrolytes throughout, because that will do you no damage, right? And if you have an evening race, then you have a hearty breakfast, which is carb dense and some protein. You do a hearty lunch, like chicken and rice or potatoes and chicken, or if you don't eat meat, then you can always do whatever else that you do, which could be paneer or whatever, right? Then you also have a snack in the evening, because sometimes evening as in like say around 3 or 4 p.m. because the races can go up to like 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. So you do one more snack and pre-race as usual, 30 to 45 minutes, do some date or a date and banana, depends on your capacity. You don't want to overstuff yourself. And a gel if you're doing a gel. And keep sipping on electrolytes throughout the day, especially if you have evening rays. And one advice I'd like to give everyone, which I noticed like a lot of us also made those mistakes. Yes, you love cheering for your people because your people are participating either in the morning, afternoon, or different times. But remember, the more time you spend before your race on the floor, the more exhausted you're going to be.
Yeah.
Save your energy. It's fine. Everyone's going to do great. So, you save your energy.
Cheer
be away
after your event. Cheer for whoever you want.
Exactly. That was very important.
One more important question. This is more women specific.
Yeah.
If someone gets their periods on the race day, it's going to be hard for them. So what do they do?
So yes, that's happened too. Like my partner and I, of course, I cramped a little bit too, which is what I was going to come to, that there will always be exceptions because you're so fully prepared for, 2 months of prep is great prep. And you're saying, I have a goal, I'll do it under 30. And, all of those, everyone has like certain time goals, or some goals could be just be to finish. But some things on race day, you can't control, like cramping, like periods, especially for women, right? Now, if you have periods or you know your dates and you think it's going to happen 1 or 2 days before, focus on more iron-rich food.
More iron-rich food, okay.
Spinach and things like that. Just add more iron-rich food and double the hydration. And if you're in your luteal, that is just few days before periods, you're feeling cramped and bloated and, the low phase, right? Do more magnesium-rich food.
Got it.
Right? It can be taken care of. Women are super strong even on their period phase. They'll do excellent. My partner did excellent. But just focus on just overdoing certain types of foods because of whatever.
Any quick advice on what to do after the event? Because this is a lot of stress to the body.
Yes.
So any quick advice on what can they do right after the event?
Within the 60 minutes of finishing your race, 2 things. Refuel the glycogen with carbs.
Yes.
And protein for repair. That's all, mainly. And some healthy fats, whatever you want to eat.
So eat good food,
right?
basically.
Yeah, just go grab, any carb meal that you can find, or some protein, or just a protein shake. And hydrate because you're going to sweat a lot of electrolyte loss. So just hydrate.
Yeah.
And if you can, walk around, cycle if you can. Just the lactic acid flush out will be great for you. You'll probably be less sore the next day.
And that's very important to avoid injuries and let the lactate flush out.
Yes.
Do a 30-minute mobility session maybe because you can do it right there.
Yeah.
You don't have access to a bike and things like that. So just do a 30-minute mobility session. What about the celebration after?
Don't drink immediately after.
What did you do?
I walked around a lot, cheering for everybody. I kept sipping on my protein, sipping on my electrolytes, eating some pizza in between. I did all that. I walked around for the next 5 hours, which is a bit much, but I did it. I was cheering for all my teammates. Then went and had a hot shower, went for some big dinner, had 1 drink.
And you celebrated your podium finish.
Yes.
Number 1 in the Hyrox event.
Yes.
Amazing, Shwetambari Shetty.
Age category.
You are my biggest inspiration, and I'm sure you will continue to be. And I'm sure you inspire so many men and women out there. So I'm pretty sure people will see this. And
I hope I can push you to do the Bangalore Hyrox.
Push me to do the Bangalore Hyrox?
Yeah.
Why not? Now I have so much information, right? So maybe you train me. Why don't you train me?
Yeah. And we need to mention that this is going to be on the cheat sheet for everyone who wants to prep for their first.
Yeah, we'll put everything on the cheat sheet. Just one final point, since we've spoken about a lot of food and a lot of carbs. All of this has to come from good, healthy food sources.
Yes.
And there's no place for junk because that's going to slow you down. So you're going to have to eat a lot of good quality food and not just anything that you want.
Without a doubt. And more than anything else, if you can find yourself a coach, nothing like it. Train with a good coach.
Yeah.
Right?
And by the way, all the best for the Hyrox World event that you're doing in Sweden next year.
Nervous.
I'm sure you're going to nail it.
2026.
You're going to nail it. I'm going to be there cheering for you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, everybody.